Greetings, brothers and sisters. As we conclude our dialogue for the month of July's Minority Mental Health Awareness, I'd like to conclude by discussing some issues regarding violence on the streets and how it is often perpetuated by violence that first begins within the home. And we're talking about domestic violence. There's no way to overlook it. There's no way to, dismiss it as probable cause. Domestic violence stems from power and control in the home. One person is exerting their power and control over another individual, creating a sense of fear so that they can manipulate and have full jurisdiction over the home and over the life of that individual or individuals if we're talking about a whole family unit. It's important, number one, for the victim and the perpetrator to be heard. We provide services for victims and survivors of domestic violence here at New View Institute, and we know that one of the main problems is that the victim is not heard. That person is invisible within the household. That person's beliefs and wanting to partake in decisions in the home is often minimized and is often dismissed by the perpetrator, her abuser, the one who's exerting power and control over her. And when that happens, you may see her in the neighborhood or in the community as an angry black woman who is not being heard. Well, of course, she's not being heard in home. She's not being heard nor taken seriously in the workplace. And she surely is not being respected in many instances by her children because they have seen her being disrespected by her intimate partner. Therefore, they're modeling the behavior that's displayed in front of them. So not only do we have angry black women in our community, we have children who are bullied and being bullied and bullying in the school system. And so when we have a child that is being abused at home, a child that is being molested, a child that is being neglected, then oftentimes that child will come into the school and they will act out their anger and it manifests itself in a form of bullying. That child will, exert their anger, their power and control over someone that they think is frail, someone that they think they can get over on, and someone that they think and want to instill fear in. Why? Because that's the behavior that's displayed at home. And it's often listed in our mental health forums as ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So we have children that grow up in environments that are not safe for them, environments where they are being neglected, environments where they are not being heard. And so I want us to think about listening to other people who are in pain. Oftentimes they may not communicate it verbally to you, but you can see it in their behavior that they are in pain or that they have experienced pain. We do a poor job at labeling people. Sometimes we mislabel people, especially our children in the school system. We mislabel them and we, look at their behaviors as being defiant. And surely they may be defiant, but there is a reason for their defiance. And we need to start doing the work to figure out where that defiance comes from. What is the root cause of that defiance? Same thing with the angry black woman. We need to be curious to know, why is this woman angry? How can we assist her in being able to identify why she's angry, what has compelled her to be this way, and why is she hurting so deeply inside? In counseling, we provide a tool through the completion of a genealogram. The genealogram is the tool that we use to look at the generations, at least 3 generations, in that household, in that family unit and structure, to be able to determine behaviors. We want to look at how you learned how to be this way, how you learned and where these behaviors stem from. You learn how to express joy. You learn how to express anger. You learn how to express these different emotions. And oftentimes you learn them based on what was modeled in your home. So if we want to deal with root causes of mental health and diminish and work on some of the issues that we're experiencing within the Black and brown community, first, we need to feel comfortable with sharing our narrative. We need to know that there are safe people that we can talk to about the experiences that we have had. Because one thing is for true, and definitely for certain, people want to be valued. They want to know that they matter, in the eyes and in the lives of the other people that they engage with day to day. So they want to be valued. They want to know that they're valued. They mean something to the community. And they want to be heard. They want to be believed. And they want to be supported. So they want someone to hear their story, and they want someone to believe their story. As far-fetched as their story may sound to you, because it wasn't your experience, it was theirs. So they want to be heard. They want to know that someone believes them when they say, my husband is locking me in the closet when I get in from work. He is sleeping with a machete underneath the bed. He is walking around displaying his gun just to remind us that he will and he can kill us at a moment's notice. This story may be far-fetched because you know this brother, so you think, and you know him to be a happy-go-lucky guy. You know him to be sensitive, and you know him to be, forthgiving and helpful in the community. But what you don't know is that he is battering the one that he says he loves. He's abusing the woman and the children that he sleeps with each and every night. So don't dismiss the story, the narrative, when it's shared with you, because it takes a lot of courage for a person who is being abused to open up and share their story. So a person wants to be valued. They want to know that they matter in the community. They want to be heard. They want to be believed, and then they want to be supported. They don't want to be told what to do, but they want to be supported in whatever decision that they decide to make. So say, for instance, the woman decides to stay in this relationship, even though you think and you believe the best thing for her to do was run for the hills. Leaving is the most dangerous aspect of a domestic violence relationship. So she has to be very strategic in how she plans her escape. And yes, I say escape because that is what it is. So she has to be strategic, but she doesn't know she has to be strategic. So someone has to help her to develop a strategy. We call it a safety plan. How are you going to get out of this domestic violence relationship? Because the life that you save not only will be your own, but it will be the life and the future of your children, and how they're able to engage in either healthy or unhealthy relationships. So we want to always think about how we are going to impact a generation, the next generation. And so we want to make decisions that are smart. So we look at mental health and we look at depression. We've gone over grief depression as it relates to grief. We've gone over anger. We've talked about that. We've talked about how to manage your anger, but managing your anger is not domestic violence. Domestic violence is about power and control. Anger is an emotion that stems from your inability to have power and control over your perpetrator. So when we think about domestic violence and we talk about domestic violence and we want to support victims of domestic violence, Please, let's get educated about what it is, the dynamics associated with domestic violence. A person may say, I'm not being abused. My man never puts his hands on me. But yet you're being abused psychologically. You're lied to. You're someone's giving you false hope. Someone's giving you a story every time you see them, and you know that it will never manifest into anything positive. They're playing mind games with you. Psychological abuse, emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse can be as damaging, if not more so, than the physical violence that is perpetrated against the victim. So we want to look at all of the ramifications of this behavior. We don't want to ignore it when we see it. We don't want to say, oh, he's just having a bad day, but we want to look at the cycle, because that's what it is when we talk about domestic violence. It is a cycle. It happens over and over and over again. Now, it may not happen every week. It may not happen every day. It may only happen every 6 months or every year. If it happens at all, we need to have our eyes wide open, because this violence affects our community. The violence in the home. It affects the way we engage with each other. It affects the way our children are able to live in society. We have to get a better understanding of domestic violence and how it manifests itself in our community, because PTSD comes from domestic violence episodes and encounters and experiences. Oftentimes a woman will have intrusive thoughts and nightmares. She will relive that story and the words that he used against her when he was verbally abusing her over and over and over again. So this PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, what happens after the trauma has occurred? These are indicators of mental illness. That mental illness, that post-traumatic stress disorder is a mental illness. The depression is a mental illness. The anxiety is a mental illness that often finds its way into the homes and the hearts of Black and brown people all over this world. And so if we want to get a handle on our mental health, and if we want to live healthy lives mentally and physically, we have to eradicate domestic violence. Domestic violence can be eradicated. It's a problem that can be solved, but it takes the people in the home, each individual, have to work on themselves, have to work on their behaviors, have to work on their roles and what they believe their roles to be in the family unit, in the relationship. And they have to put in place healthy ways in which to engage with one another, learn about conflict resolution, learn how to communicate with one another, learn how to love and forgive, learn how to listen with empathy and compassion and love. So this is a conversation that we will continue to have, because we know how important it is to healing the Black and the brown community. This has been Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, July. And we've discussed the dynamics around domestic violence. We've discussed domestic violence and post-traumatic stress disorder, adverse childhood experiences as being part of the mental health, depression, anxiety, as part of being the mental health experiences that we often have. Please get help. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind and the healing of your soul.